Of all those that can get the resources put together, I think the basic thing you need for a good airline, we have it. Arik has a fleet of about, I think, 26 aircrafts. They go to about 13 destinations. That's not bad for a company that started operations in 2006. Ethiopian Airlines that we're saying should come and help run started in maybe 71 years ago. At the moment, they have about 83, a fleet of about 83. They go to maybe 113 destinations. South African Airlines, same thing. They are about, I think they started in about 1984. They have 56 aircraft, and they go to about 54 destinations. Look at that. One is 71 years old, one is 83 years old. Arik is only 2006. 26 aircraft, 13 destinations.
Shouldn't be asking ourselves questions.
Exactly.
Ever since Nigeria Airways
has fallen. But I don't believe government has a business in being in business. I think it should be private sector driven. Let the regulators overhaul their systems. Let them overhaul their processes. Let them be nimble on their feet. Let them be less bureaucratic. Provide the enabling environment and let the operators run the business.
Arik doesn't want to be taken over by the government or AMCON for that matter, and yes, says it's going to court and it's going to fight this to the Supreme Court if need be.
Yes.
How do you see this panning out at the end?
Well, you can always say you're going to go to court. Whether you succeed in court or not is another matter. Is AMCON acting outside the provisions of the AMCON Act? To the best of my knowledge, at the moment, I don't think so. Arik is owing over 300 million, the banks, and that's what the AMCON Act says. If your loans are becoming bad, they are toxic, and are beginning to affect even the banks, because when those assets are, those loans are become very bad, and the banks have to do write-offs of them, and it affects their own profitability. That's where AMCON is supposed to come in, and that's what AMCON has done, as I have seen so far. It's an eligible asset under the AMCON Act to be taken by AMCON, and AMCON deal with it the way it's supposed to deal with such assets under the AMCON Act. But do they have a good case? Well, it's premature for me to say so until they present their case in court. But from what I have seen, the loans that AMCON has taken fall within the definition of those loans, eligible bank assets, which AMCON can take from eligible financial institutions. That at least is the basic point. Whether other things have then been done, we can't tell until the facts are brought before the court. But on the face of it, at the moment, I think AMCON has acted within the ambits of the law.
But do you think this, and to what extent, does it address the problems in the aviation industry?
This takeover?
And don't forget, we just saw Aero coming
Yes.
back now.
Yes.
And now this.
Well, I'm hoping that this will be an eye-opener for everybody, because this is a major issue. AMCON is not, Arik is not a small airline. It's not an airline that if it stops running today, life will continue. If Arik stops running today, there's going to be a major problem. Yes, those who can afford the executive jets will continue to fly the executive jets. But even the schedule of those executive jets are not that many. Maybe they fly once or twice a day. Some fly thrice a week and all that. So it would take care of the needs of the traveling.
We'll come back and take a look at a number of other issues in just a moment. Do stay with us. Welcome back. You know, there are those who say, we've seen them talk about the Aviation Intervention Fund. They didn't see much of it. Today, the airlines, we hear their CEOs complain that, look, there's a real squeeze going on in the industry, and the margin, before you even talk about breaking even, is very slim. And then they ask ourselves, look, shouldn't we as a government, shouldn't the government be talking about bailing out some of these airlines? And is that something we should consider?
I believe so. And in my own view, I think an AMCON intervention is like a bailout. Yes.
But when you
because
have
I expect no, but receiver doesn't mean that the company is going to be wound up. It's a receiver. Is playing a receiver manager role. He looks at the assets of the company. He looks at the liabilities of the company. He looks at whether the company can still be managed and be brought alive. And that is only if after an evaluation of all of that has been done, and the receiver comes to the conclusion that the company cannot be restructured and resuscitated, then it will be wound up. Appointing a receiver doesn't necessarily mean that that company must be wound up. The receiver looks at all the assets and all that. And if the objective is not to allow Arik to fail, then that's what it should be done. And all of this debate, I think, I'm sure, of course, government and those in authority will be listening and they hear, and we hope that they will respond positively. My position will be that AMCON should not be allowed to fail. AMCON should be resuscitated.
AMCON or Arik?
I mean, Arik, sorry, should be resuscitated. It should be restructured. It should be privatized, turned into a PLC, private limited company, and let the stock be floated on the Nigerian Stock Exchange.
What's your impression about those aviation professionals who are of the view that, wait a minute, isn't this another ploy on the part of the government to make this a national carrier?
Even if government wants to make it a national carrier, the days of government owning parastatals totally and completely are over. Okay? It's a pity, in my own view, that the Virgin Nigeria failed. I think we had a good opportunity there to have had a national carrier, and they were doing well initially. We all flew them at that time, but for some reason, a lot of talk here and there. Well, part of it.
The biggest fear now is that anything the government puts its hand in could fail.
It's always, which is why I'm saying it should be privatized. It should, I mean, yes, it should be private. Well, when I use the word private, it's a private company. But what I'm trying to say is that it should be allowed to go public. It should be allowed. Look for core investors. And then after those core investors, maybe 20-30% of the shares are owned by those people. Of course, the present shareholders too must own a sizable amount of the shares. And then let the remaining be sold to the general Nigerian public. If you can afford 5% of Arik, you can. Let there be AGMs. Let there be good corporate governance structures. Let the corporate governance code of conduct of public limited companies begin to apply. And I think it's just a matter of managing the company effectively, but capitalization is an issue. And I'm not sure that that amount of money can be raised without going public. 10 billion, is it 10 million or 10 billion that's required?
Well, talk about 10 billion now,
yes,
so.
You must go to the capital market to raise that kind of money.
All right.
I mean, except if some people have stolen money, and we really don't want that kind of money.
Yeah.
In the system.
All right. Mr. Dagboyomi is the CEO of Center for Law and Business. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you very much.
And that's the show. That's the show today. Well, thank you all for watching and for your comments as well. We'll see you next time. I'm Chamberlain. Many
thanks for watching. I'm Gimba Umar.
I'm Neo Type. We have yourself a good day.